Welcome to the Online Graduate Research Forum for Spring 2018. My name is Linda Binford, your presenter. I am a graduate student in the Masters of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies program in the Department of Occupational, Workforce, and Leadership Studies. The title of my research study is Education, Employment, and Community Resources, Reducing Recidivism Rates with Incarcerated Women. My decision to focus on education and vocational programming with incarcerated women presented itself in an organic way. A dear friend of mine asked me if I was interested in volunteering with Kairos Ministries, a prison ministry that goes inside the prison to deliver spiritual guidance. After my first training session with Kairos, I realized the value in this community outreach program. Fast forward a bit, and I was driving to class one afternoon and tuned into NPR and listened to an interview with Susan Burton, a prior incarcerated woman. Her personal story of triumph over addiction, abuse, pain, and reoffending inspired me to take this path of discovery of the challenges and barriers that incarcerated women are attempting to overcome. The purpose of my practicum is to apply research, inquiry, advising, and counseling skills in the area of education in order to assist diverse populations of people. I am interested in advising, counseling, and mentoring students through transition periods in their education and career development. For example, students that are undecided in their area of study or focus, and students that are undecided in their career paths. Developing mental skills and providing marketable job training skills for incarcerated women allows them to re-enter society as successful, productive citizens and contributing and vested members in the communities where we all live and work together. I completed my practicum with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice at Lockhart Women's Correctional Facility in Lockhart, Texas. My practicum objectives included Learning Objective 1. I will determine the best programs, processes, and methods that provide incarcerated women the best opportunities to gain employment and earn a living that does not require them to further commit crimes to support themselves and their families. Learning Objective 2. I will analyze relevant data in order to determine if academic programs and community resources are meeting the needs of incarcerated women so they can successfully reintegrate into society. And Learning Objective 3. I will determine the functions, roles, and duties of academic and vocational advisors, counselors, and mentors in academic and vocational programming based on practicum activities designed to provide professional networking and promote deep reflections within the context of my professional goals. 3 of my practicum highlights correlate to each of my learning objectives. My first practicum highlight reflects my learning of established academic and vocational programming that exists within TDCJ and Lockhart Women's Correctional Facility. There are 3 building blocks for adult basic education that are divided into levels of learning that the women are currently at in their individual educational abilities. After advancing through ABE levels 1 through 3, women then enter into a GED program that prepares them to successfully earn their GED. I had the honor of attending a GED graduation and witnessed firsthand the immense pride and personal growth exhibited by these women as they received their certificates. Their families and friends were also present and able to witness this transformational growth that will have a positive impact on their re-entry into society. My understanding of the positive affect of Kairos Ministries with women offenders has proven that the assumption that spirituality and religion does not affect personal choices and decision-making is wrong. I spoke with multiple women offenders that shared their personal journeys that included re-offending. This time, they took different approaches with their incarceration as they volunteered to be part of the faith-based dormitories, studies, and programs offered at Lockhart in collaboration with Kairos Ministries, and their mindset and direction have changed. Programs like peer tutoring are taught through the AIDS Foundation that empower women to teach other women about mothering, proactive approaches with anger management, and financial management, and how to effectively budget a household. A final practicum highlight for me is my personal responsibility to volunteer and give back to my community. I collaborated with so many giving people and organizations like Goodwill of Central Texas that administers a high school diploma program free of charge to Lockhart Women's Correctional Facility, and the Prison Entrepreneurial Program, PEP, a nonprofit organization of business owners that administers a 6-month business plan program to women offenders in order to prepare them for successful reentry back into the free world. That's how women offenders refer to society, the free world. If you will recall my earlier epiphany and that certain interview that happened on my drive to class, that is when I learned of Susan Burton, the author of Becoming Ms. Burton. It is so important to listen to those perspectives of women that have had the same experience as those communities that the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, TDCJ, are serving. Burton understands the challenges that incarcerated women face. Through careful examination of Burton's methods of developing programs and support systems for newly released women from prison, incarcerated women have better chances of gaining employment and earning a living that does not require them to further commit crimes to support themselves and their families. Burton's book was so influential that I purchased 2 additional copies and donated them to the library at Lockhart Women's Correctional Facility so the women offenders could be motivated by this positive example of a prior incarcerated woman that made a new life for herself and her family after prison. Another literature piece that guided me through my practicum was Gunnison and Helfgott's book, Offender Reentry, Beyond Crime and Punishment. In order to know where we are going, we must understand where we have been. An historical perspective is important in identifying gaps or ways to improve community resources for successful reentry into society for incarcerated women. This book offers an example from Washington State that can be applied to prison programs in the state of Texas. I observed effective academic and vocational programs within the TDCJ like those I previously mentioned, ABE, GED, PEP, and other existing vocational programs, and I also provided additional programming options and new resources for our Texas communities that include strengthening academic programs and future employment opportunities that foster collaborations with nonprofit organizations like the Prison Entrepreneurial Program. And finally, the book, Feeding Bodies and Souls, Kairos Prison Ministry International. I am a volunteer with Kairos Ministries, and I am currently training for one of the mentioned retreats for Lockhart Women's Correctional Facility. I am very interested and motivated in the positive affect that this community resource has on incarcerated women. The TDCJ offers training to all volunteers for Kairos Ministries. I know that I will continue to volunteer with Kairos post-practicum and after I complete my graduate studies. Regarding my own reflection on my practicum experience, I can say that my strength was my ability to adapt and overcome obstacles. At the start of the new year, I reached out to my site supervisor only to find that he was no longer at Lockhart. I was beside myself with concern for my practicum. I then reached out to the warden, and he assured me that we would move forward with my practicum, but with new players. And in retrospect, I'm very thankful. I had the opportunity to exchange and collaborate with the education counselor, who was the interim education director, until they found a replacement. Then, when they hired the new education director, I had the good fortune to learn from and collaborate with her. This is a resilient staff. My weakness became pronounced in my lack of time spent on all aspects of programming with the TDCJ. An 8-week practicum goes quickly. An opportunity that I am so happy to share is that I was just hired as an academic advisor at Texas State University, advising freshman students in their academic and career explorations as they transition from high school to university academia and living. A threat that I am concerned about is understanding the viability and fruition of my recommendations that I made at the end of my practicum. I know that I will maintain contact with Lockhart Women's Correctional Facility as I continue to volunteer, and I will take that time to meet with the warden and the education staff and see how their programming has expanded. My future career plans include continuing with my own volunteerism. I will be participating in my first Kairos retreat in April. I have spent months training and preparing for this opportunity to share in the spiritual growth and emotional healing for incarcerated women. Also in April, I will begin my professional career as an academic advisor with Texas State University. This completes my presentation, and I thank you for allowing me to share my practicum experience. On the YouTube page below, please indicate your anonymous preference for this practicum by clicking on one of these two icons. Also, please post your comments or questions in the YouTube comment section below. I will respond to your inquiries posted between March 26th and April 8th through this webpage.